going live, so don't do anything you're going to regret having on YouTube. Here we are. Okay. Everybody ready? Yes? Hearing no objections, I'm assuming we're ready. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So Ron Herman is sitting next to me because he's learning how to lead a service. Never too late.
I'm going to make sure she does everything right.
That's really more like it, right? So we're going to begin with Hine Matov, page 644 and 340.
Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
And I'd like to ask the sisters, Susie and her dear sister, to please come up to light the candles for Shabbat, page 120. No? Yes, you, Susie. And okay, and your sister, Ani, if she'd like to come up with you. Page 120 and 2.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to make the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. very patient. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Morris is going to lead. Oh, and okay. Ron Herman is going to lead us in the Kiddush, page 123 and 5.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsha b'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Everybody, kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Thank you. Thank you.
So this week's Parsha contains what the most important moment in the Torah, the revelation at Mount Sinai. And the content of that revelation is perhaps the most famous of the Torah and the most enduring legacy of Judaism, the Ten Commandments. According to the Torah, this was a pretty overwhelming experience. We read, when the people saw it, they fell back and stood at a distance. And the first thing they did when they recovered was to ask Moses to make it stop. Quote, "You speak to us, and we will obey, but do not let God speak to us, lest we die." A direct encounter with God is overpowering. Even Moses is not allowed to experience God directly. When he asks God to see his face, God says that you can only see my back. So what exactly did the Israelites see? The Torah tells us all the people saw the sounds and the flashes, the sound of the shofar and the mountain smoking. In other words, they saw sounds. What does that mean? Well, stay tuned for several explanations. But first, the Ten Commandments. This is Roy Orbison, is that?
No, this is a song that was written by Lou DeWitt of the Statler Brothers, but it was popularized quite a bit by Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, I
and
knew
so
it was one of those
it's not
guys.
often you get to sing a song that Johnny Cash sang. And so this song is the Ten Commandments. And so I'll do my best to channel Johnny Cash. Moses led God's children out to find the promised land. And on the way he'd stop each day to look to heaven and ask God for help as he could not withstand the task alone. And then one day he looked away and thereby lay a stone. God said, "Write upon this stone these words I say to you. And if you all obey my rules, I'll see you safely through." God opened heaven's door and he guided Moses' hands. And then God said, "Go tell my children these are my commands. Go and climb that mountain, Moses, climb that mountain now and pray. Climb that mountain now and tell us what our God has had to say. Thou shalt have no gods before me is my great command. And thou shalt not make any graven image by thy hand. Thou shalt not take my name in vain if thou would guiltless be. Remember thou to keep the Sabbath day alone for me. Honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not steal. Love thy neighbor as thyself, and show thy neighbor peace. Covet not thy neighbor's house, nor anything that's theirs. Go and climb that mountain, Moses, climb that mountain now and pray. Climb that mountain now and tell us what our God has had to say. Moses showed these words of God to all the children then. They pulled up stakes and headed out to find the promised land that Moses had described to them and told of comforts there. The children of oppression thought they'd not find anywhere. But they were soon to part from him and push alone a while. For it was never meant to him to walk that final mile. The children cried, if we must go on, Moses, without you, then talk to God just one more time and tell us what to do. Go and climb that mountain, Moses, climb that mountain now and pray. Climb that mountain now and tell us what our God has had to say. Go and climb that mountain, Moses, climb that mountain now and pray. Climb that mountain now and tell us what our God has had to say.
Very cool. Perfect. I'd never heard that before. Who knew?
Actually, Jory was we were looking at 10 Commandments songs. We were going to do 613 commandments, but that's really more about Shavuot. It's really set where Moses destroys the tablets. And so we were back to square one. I was trying to find a song. So Jory emails me, and I read it at about 12:30 this morning. And it says, why don't we do this song? So I looked it up. It was like, yeah, it's about the commandments. So I learned it and all that stuff. Then I emailed him this morning. It's like, yeah, it sounds good. And Jory goes, I was kidding. That was a joke, man. So anyway, so it's one of those things that turned into a song. It's actually a really nice song. It's actually a pleasant song.
Perfect for this Torah portion.
Yeah, I know, no jokes.
That's great. Okay, so now to all the different interpretations of what it means that the Israelites saw the sounds at Mount Sinai. So the Rashbam, who is one of Rashi's grandsons, argues for the plain meaning. He says that what they saw was the hail and the stones flying around, assuming Mount Sinai was an exploding volcano. And as proof that there was hail on Mount Sinai is that during the plague of hail back in Egypt, there was also thunder. The same word used for this is kolot. So he says that thunder and hail come together. The Italian Renaissance commentator Ovadia Sforno says, this is like the phrase in Ecclesiastes, and my heart saw. That is, they meditated on the idea of the sounds. The medieval Spanish commentator Rabbeinu Bachya writes, seeing here means understanding, as in, I see the scent of my son. Not too many people say things like that, but okay. Which is what the blind Isaac said when Jacob came to him for a blessing. And Maimonides gives the same explanation. The Kli Yakar of Prague has a different take. Every word that came out of God's mouth immediately began to take form and became so tangible that they could see the letters flying in the air like they were written in front of them. Rabbi Akiva, the great hero of the Talmud, says that they saw a word of fire come out of the mouth of might and be engraved upon the tablets. And that explains the combination of sounds and flashes of light. How wondrous to imagine God like some almighty fire-breathing dragon, puffing out and burning the letters into stone. Then there's Rashi, the king of commentators, who simply says, they saw that which is heard, which would be impossible to see in any other place. As Rabbi David Kasher explains, the phrase is unusual, and Rashi suggests precisely because it is meant to describe a highly unusual experience. Somehow, in this extraordinary moment, the Israelites could actually see sound. Their senses were expanded and crossing over normal sensory boundaries, blending into one another. So there you have it, many choices. We continue with a Hatzikadosh, page
Honey, would you put
263.
the kettle on?
Yes, I will.
Okay, somebody who's boiling some water, maybe you could mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, Hatzikadosh, page 263 and 145.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלל וזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילא ולעילא ממכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on the next page.
Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai. המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד, לעולם, 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 לעולם.
Please be seated. So Rabbi David Kasher offers one more perspective on the strange concept of the Israelites seeing the sounds. This one is offered by the Hasidic master, the Safat Emet. The seer looks at a thing in its completeness, exactly as it is. But for the hearer, The sound changes as it enters his ears, and it isn't exactly the same sound that was originally made. That's the advantage of seeing. But with hearing, there's an advantage that the sound truly enters inside of him through the ear, whereas the sight remains outside. With this in mind, the verse teaches us that the children of Israel had both advantages. They received the words in the manner of seeing sounds, such that even though they truly entered inside of them, nevertheless they saw the sounds without any distortion. I would argue with some of that, but Sfat Emet is very smart, so he must know something I don't know. But Rabbi Kasher explains, seeing is a sense human beings usually rely on most, which is why if you have cataract surgery, it could be a little disturbing. We tend to assume we are seeing things exactly as they are, even though they remain at a distance. Hearing, meanwhile, is a weaker, less reliable sense. But it's more powerful to the extent that it actually enters us and we can feel it vibrating inside of us. As it is about the spiritual. What was so incredible about the experience of revelation was that, for that one moment, they heard God's word exactly as it was, with no distortion, but also were able to completely internalize it. The goal of seeking to understand an objective reality is to truly know things as they actually are. But the power of a subjective reality, though it may be somewhat distorted by a particular perspective, is that it is personal. We make it our own, and through it, we find meaning. And I think that's a beautiful way of understanding it, that it's not about the technical issue of is it distorted or not as it comes through our ears, because frankly, what we see is distorted too, right? We don't see the full spectrum of light, et cetera. But the idea is that we've internalized it on some level, and it's something that we take on as our own spiritual reality. Ahavat Olam, which is about revelation, very, very relevant for tonight, is page 266 and 148. Out of love, God gave us the Torah.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוקפנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה נגע יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל.
We rise for the Shema on the next page.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Ech. Are we in the wrong key? Hold on. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. Sorry. Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated, and Carol Lee is going to lead us in the Ve'ahavta, page 268 and 150.
Yes, a few more inches would be good. Okay, I want to hear everybody tonight, please. Look at all of you, that's wonderful. So chant with me. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha laman tiskaru v'asit kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Good job. So Yitro, our Torah portion for this week, which describes Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, does not institute a festival or any mitzvot to mark the occasion. As Rabbi Jonathan Ruth notes, in fact, nowhere in the Torah do we find rituals to commemorate the revelation at Sinai. Shavuot in the Rashi, quoting Midrash, unpacks the message. The verse should have been written Bayom Hahu, on that day. Why does it say Bayom Hazeh, this day? This comes to teach us that the words of Torah should be considered as though they are new to you every single day. The difference between that day and this day is the difference between a singular event and the ongoing process of working daily to achieve Michamocha is page 270 and 152.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקעם לפני משה. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
The 10th commandment that appears in our Torah portion states, "You shall not covet your fellow's house, you shall not covet your fellow's wife, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your fellow." Lovely to have wife and maidservant along with ox and donkey, but whatever. They weren't that enlightened in those days. The rabbis asked, how can the Torah forbid something which is seemingly so much a part of human nature? Jealousy and covetous desires of another's possessions. As Rabbi Ephraim Buchwald states, with the prohibition against covetous desires, Judaism introduces a bold and revolutionary concept. The Torah, in effect, declares that human beings are in control of or can control their intimate thoughts and desires. Perhaps the concept of prohibiting evil thoughts and emotions is hard to accept because much of contemporary thinking conveys the opposite message, that our improper behavior is often excusable because of rage, provocation, or taunt. Bloodlust may express those forbidden feelings by becoming a surgeon. I've got to tell this to our various doctors. A mohel or a ritual slaughterer. So hopefully it's not the other way around. If you became a surgeon, it's because you had bloodlust. The Hasidim argue even further. They maintain that if a person's heart is full of love of God, there is simply no room for alien thoughts and feelings. That, they explain, is the way the temptation expressed in the Torah's prohibition of lo tachmod, thou shalt not covet, can be overcome. Just fill your heart with love for God. Fill your heart with love of God, argue the Hasidim, and there will be no room for alien covetous desires. Vishamru, our injunction to observe Shabbat, is page 272 and 154.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם.
Page 2.
מתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך, אדוני שפתי, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע. Hoshia, Mashif Haruach Umorid Hagashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somek Noflim Verofe Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Vene'emanata Lechachayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please continue silently to page 282, and please be seated when you're done or when you need to.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Kasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Kasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim
take a moment now to think of those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. We think of congregants and friends and family of congregants Ben Henderson, Kara Gilman, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Leslie Ferris, Pamela Mangus, Judy Richmond, Jesse Dollamore, Glickle Sarah Bat-Devora Milka Gittel, Vicki Dix, Ron McDonald, Colton Wayne Whitaker, John Cruz, Mark Feldstein, Dan Strauss, Darlene DeMason, Linda Stroman, Rachel Bat Esther Malke Uvelva Yeshua, Leah Minkela Bat Yehuda Lishay Chana, Kenny Hayes, William Brown, Charlene Beck, Shawnee Holness, and anyone here in the sanctuary thinking of someone? Sandra Landis, Rachel Heslin, Jess Landis, Dorothy Odson, Marcia Brown, Robin Kurland, Michael Kurland, Judy Gladstone, Portia Becker, Francine Hoffman. Please join us in the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing, which is on the inside of your prayer books.
Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzhak veYaakov. Misha berach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Misha berach avotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as
The Israelite experience at Mount Sinai is a reflection of the spiritual journey of the people of Israel, giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. At the beginning of Yitro, the Torah introduces us to Yitro, a Midianite priest and the father-in-law of Moses. Yitro heard of the wonders that God had done for the Israelites, and so he is inspired to join them at the mountain. An amount of time in their leave to return to Midian, Moses celebrates and acknowledges the wisdom that Yitro has brought to them. God then descends to Mount Sinai to give the Torah and speaks in a great and powerful voice. All the people are filled with awe at the words of God. The Israelites listen intently as God instructs them on the mitzvot. Then God gives the 10 Commandments, and the people respond with a single voice. We will do and we will hear. This marks an important moment in the spiritual journey of the people of Israel. The giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai represents a profound moment in Jewish history. Jewish tradition teaches that through this event, the ultimate eternal connection between God and the Jewish people was created. The very presence of God at Mount Sinai is a powerful reminder of the covenant between God and God's chosen people, and of the unique spiritual bond that exists between the two. This episode in the book of Yitro is a reminder of the Israelites' spiritual commitment to God and of their determination to accept God's laws even without fully understanding them. The story serves as an inspiration to us today, motivating us to come closer to God, obey God's commandments, and remain open to God's wisdom. The core of the Torah portion of Yitro is Exodus 19, and that's when the Israelites experience Mount Sinai and what happens there. God descends on the mountain in an awesome display of divine presence, proclaiming, "I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt." In response to the show of power, the Israelite people trembled in reverence and vowed to obey his commandments. But this was not the end of their experience at Sinai. Having accepted the commandments from God, the Israelites were then provided with detailed instruction on how to understand and observe them. Yitro, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, offers wise counseling as he witnesses that the people are being overwhelmed and worn out from the task of working among the multitude of accompanying laws. He suggests that Moses select and appoint qualified men to assist him in deciding cases of disagreement, bringing regularity to the Torah learning and permitting Moses to focus attention on higher matters, such as communication with God. The Torah portion of Yitro thus teaches us a few critical points. First and foremost, when faced with divine power and truth, we must humble ourselves and accept God's instructions. Secondly, it is through detailed Torah study that we come to understand and obey the laws of God properly. Thirdly, a division of labor allows us to do more with our resources and focus our attention on matters most important to us. Finally, the experience at Mount Sinai says something about the special relationship between God and the Israelite people. At Sinai, the Israelite people accepted God's truth, using their resources intelligently to learn and understand the law. In so doing, they developed a unique relationship with God, proving to God and the world their devotion and loyalty. This is the experience that we should strive for today. By studying the Torah deeply and accepting God as our commander and teacher, we can fulfill our destiny as chosen people and draw closer to God than ever before. I have a confession to make. I did not write that. Chat GBT, whatever it's called. I just put in the prompt Yitro and Revelation, and this came out. Now, it's not the most brilliant Devar Torah, and I'm sure I could have, probably put in better prompts. I put in several to see, how it would work, but that is terrifying. I mean, seriously, and you know how long it took? 2 seconds. Seriously, it took 2 seconds. I just put those words in and bang, it came out. Artificial intelligence with total access to the internet up until 2021. And that is really scary. I mean, at some point, I'll be pretty useless, right? You don't need me to write a Devar Torah or a sermon. I mean, as I said, I think it's a little flat, and certainly could use some help. But you know what? It'll get there. It will get there. So I stole this experiment from another rabbi who did this, I think it was last week. Could you tell that it was not written by me?
Yeah, well, you were repeating things that you said earlier, which I didn't understand.
it's true. I had said a lot of that stuff earlier, and I just, I took what they put together. Did you want to say something? Wait, you have to talk into the mic or people on Zoom can't hear you.
You won't, artificial intelligence can never replace human creativity, and that was very creative.
What was creative? What I just read?
Yes.
But it was written by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, but artificial intelligence can never beat human creativity, and I'm sure it was you because that was very creative and I never heard anything like it.
Well, thank you. I mean, the fact is, this is just the beginning, right? I mean, they're going to perfect it and make it much more. I mean, it's missing a sort of personal touch, maybe a personal story or something. One day it'll get there, So, as I said, it felt a little flat to me. It felt a little too much like, oh yeah, well, we're going to obey God. That's not probably what I would tell you, but go ahead.
Artificial intelligence is something that's evolving rapidly. My son does work on it. He's a professor at Stanford, and it's in its infancy. And there are advances being made all the time. The stuff that David talks about it's wildly interesting, but like everything else, you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Remember the movie 2001 when Hal took over? Ooh, that scares me. That really does scare me. That day is coming. Yeah, I think it is. It is, and I don't know what we're going to do with it, but you're smiling. You think it's a good idea? Or?
No, I know 2001 is one of my favorite movies, and I remember seeing it in a rerun theater as a kid, like I was 7 years old, and when Hal, he fakes a mistake with the transmitter dish, the AE-35 dish, if you're a nerd, and so Commander Frank Poole goes out to take a look at it, but then of course he sends him off flying into space, and so Dave Bowman has to go outside and go get him, but then Hal won't let him back in. And while he's out, he also kills the other 3 scientists in suspended hibernation. He kills them all. And so, yeah, it's a little bit scary. But I was laughing because it's caused quite a commotion at colleges and high schools because, so ChatGPT is a language model, and what you're reading there, what you read, was it's basically taking all the other interpretations of the Parsha that other people have done that are out on the internet and sort of amalgamated them all together. It's this word prediction thing. So it's kind of funny because it does fool you, and it seems like there's a person there if you try to have a conversation with it, because it is actually a chatbot. So, do you ever see the movie Her, 2013 movie Her? Yeah, so we're not too far from that. Did you see that movie? Yeah, it's about an artificial intelligence. Yeah, it's about this fellow who, well, he falls in love with this artificial intelligence, and toward the end of the movie, he finds out that it's in love with 2,000 other people too, because it's an AI, right? And so, yeah, it kind of spoils the specialness for him. The movie's called Her. Came out 10 years ago.
So, Wendy, hang on just one second. I just want to say that as far as, I've read some articles about this. Can you imagine you give an assignment to a student in college? How are you supposed to tell that this was done by AI? Anyway, Wendy.
Well, one thing that has potential for this kind of technology that's concerning is the phenomenon of garbage in, garbage out. If it's searching the internet for stuff on that topic and picks out a bunch of wrong stuff,
True.
There's that too. That's very possible. Like, what if you typed into the search box, climate change is not true? It would give you this long discussion that seems valid, but it's all from garbage websites. So the whole garbage in, garbage out thing is a real concern here.
Yeah. Paula?
This may sound weird, but I was talking to somebody the other day about, I'm glad I live in the time that I do, because I want to be gone in later years, because people won't need each other. They're not going to talk to, the kids don't talk to each other. They text, they email, they could be sitting right next to each other and they're texting each other. And that kind of world, where are we going to be when we don't need each other humanly, when we can just, everything we need, type it in? It is scary.
I agree, yeah. Lisa?
So the thing that it was missing was emotion. That's what it can't replicate yet. And I think it's really interesting that when we invent fictional AI, we impose emotions on it. We imposed emotions on Hal, we imposed emotions on the character from her because that's the only way we can relate to it. So I think that's still the piece that's missing that only we have.
Yeah, we only have that. Hopefully, that'll stay the case for a while. So as long as I'm out here, I want to meet some new people that came in. Hi, you want to introduce yourselves? You're Karen Dixon. Great. Have you been here? You've been here before? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a friend of Kevin and Margie.
Oh, wonderful. Well, nice to see you again.
There's Margie. Hi.
Margie. Hi, Margie. I don't see her, but okay, I believe you. And are you new? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ray Hillcrystal. I lived in Riverside for 2 years. Thanks.
Are you a student or do you work?
I work, but
Where do you work?
I work at Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Welcome. Nice to see you. And I know you've been here many times, so why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Alejandro, but most call me Sasha, and I'm mostly here for the finalized reason is to find inner peace within myself.
I hope you find it here. Okay, good to have you here. Okay, and then
You want me to introduce them?
go ahead.
Okay. This is Jill Gableman and her son, Noah Gableman. And it's nice to have them here.
Welcome, Noah. You didn't want all that attention necessarily, right? Okay. Okay, does anybody on Zoom want to add anything to our discussion? No, okay. All right, well, we have our president here tonight, David Crone, who's got a few announcements. He didn't. He didn't.
Okay. Not because you wanted to hear me, but because you wanted to see me. Okay. Next week, Morris will be seeing the other 603 missing commandments. It's we'll all look forward to that. If you were at the congregational meeting, we discussed a security grant that we had applied. Next Thursday with Rabbi Singer will be February 11th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Please join us in person over Zoom on Thursday, February 16th at 6 o'clock p.m. for a special presentation on anti-Semitism, where we are and what we can do by the Anti-Defamation League. Everyone is invited to the Religious Schools Forum Service Carnival on March 5th at 9 a.m. There'll be more information to come. The Center for Healthcare Education is offering an important first aid class on March 12th, 2023, this year, free of charge. We urge you to attend. Please RSVP to Rusty Russell. Please consider sponsoring an ONEG for after services. There's more information about sponsoring an ONEG in the weekly email, and ONEGs will be mask optional based on a decision by the COVID committee this week. The ONEG for tonight has been sponsored by Daniel Brent in honor of Carol Lee. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. I knew she would, but I just want to say some of those were written by David and some weren't, so you have to figure out which is which. But they weren't written by AI. They were written by humans. But you know what else AI doesn't have yet? It's a sense of humor. So let's see if they ever get there Some? Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to try that. Just write a joke?
We'll give it a topic. Tell me a joke about rabbis. Tell me a joke about this.
I'm gonna look that up.
The junior and senior, I don't know, I guess that's what you call it, the youth groups are going to Sky Zone next Sunday, not this coming Sunday, the 19th. And so I want to know if anybody hasn't RSVP'd to come to Sky Zone. It's a trampoline place where you jump around. I don't think this crowd is going to come. Oh yes, you could. Oh, you guys are going to come. I take it back. Yes. Oh, and you're going to come. I take it doubly back. So if you guys would like to come and your kids would like to come, it would be wonderful. Parents take pictures, kids jump around.
Great. All right. Any other announcements? Okay. So we are now going to the Aleinu, and why don't Wendy and Dean come up? Dean worked for us for the last 7 months, and our needs have changed post-COVID, so today was his last day, but we want to thank him for all he's done for us. And of course, Wendy has been doing ONEGs, which we are very grateful for, even more grateful to have them indoors now. Thank you, of course, to Jason, who's been the head of the COVID committee and has had to, adjust to new information and new circumstances. Asher, great job tonight. Can we see you? There he is. Yay. And thank you so much to Morris and Jory for your beautiful music. And we rise for the Aleinu, which is on the inside cover of the prayer book.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום וחשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We take a moment now to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. We're observing Shiva for Erwin Wall, who is the husband of Judy Wall. and father of Alex Wall. Is anyone here observing Shiva Shloshim, or the first year of mourning? Irving Klein, first year. Sheldon Cohen, first year. Judith Cohen. First year, Sean Heslin and Ruth Landis. First year, David Tanazaki. First year, Lida Mintz. First year, Patty Podner. We're also observing yard sites this Shabbat for Phyllis Lewin, Jacob Kirschner, Ruth Axel Weinstein, Barbara Ram Droutman, Iris Harris, Ruth Crane, Elizabeth Magnus, Helen Virginia Reaver McAvoy, Deborah Simon, Milton Fendel, Edmund Eisenberg, Leah Sirotnik, Lloyd Alberga, Sarah Asher, Benjamin Exler, Robert Gillis, Edith Orens, David Tenenbaum, Harold Bauman, Ben Miller, Lester Weintraub, Rebecca Brandfield, Gisela Baumel, Bella Popper, Harold Sidney Bauman, Rose Havis, Esther Goffman. Is anyone else here observing a yard site? Anyone on Zoom? We, of course, think of those who lost their lives in the horrible earthquake in Turkey, those who, of course, lost their lives in the Shoah and have no one to say the mourner's Kaddish for them. Please join me, page 598. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yehutei v'yamlich mahutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon, u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu. Le'ela min kol bilchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. Our closing song is Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. Moses, taught us Torah and commanded us to observe it.
The congregation is very left biased, it seems, from your point of view. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe.
Everybody touch the bread or touch someone who's touching the bread.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Please join us for our indoor oneg. Thank you. Those songs were so perfect.
It was good. It was great.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Hey, Shabbat shalom.